In the forgotten corners of history lie stories darker than we remember. Each episode, we open another page from the past and uncover the crimes time tried to erase. This is the Dark Notebook. Today, we begin with the mysterious death of Mary Rogers, the Cigar Girl. In the summer of 1841, New York City was a place of noise, smoke, and restless ambition. Newspapers shouted headlines at every corner, but one story would soon drown them all out. A young woman known only as the Beautiful Cigar Girl vanished without a trace. And when her body resurfaced 3 days later in the Hudson River, the city plunged into obsession, scandal, and fear. This is the story of Mary Rogers, whose death became one of America's earliest criminal sensations, and whose mystery still lingers nearly 2 centuries later. New York in the 1840s was a city stretching itself awake. Gas lamps lit the streets, ferries cut across the river, and shop fronts glowed late into the evening. Among these shops was Anderson's Tobacco Emporium, where a young woman named Mary Rogers worked behind the counter. She was polite, strikingly beautiful, and known by almost every man who passed through the neighborhood. Newspapers adored her. Customers visited simply to admire her. She became, in a way, New York's first minor celebrity, an icon of charm in a rapidly growing city. But fame, even soft fame, can draw dangerous attention. Mary Cecilia Rogers was only 20 years old, but she carried herself with a grace that made her seem older. Born in Connecticut, raised by her widowed mother, she arrived in the city ready to build a better life. Her beauty was often mentioned, but her intelligence, sharp, quick, and observant, was just as notable. Still, behind her smiles at the shop counter, Mary was uneasy. Friends recalled strange men watching her, following her, trying too hard to gain her attention. In 1838, she vanished once before, only to reappear with a vague explanation. The incident left rumors swirling, yet life moved on, until the summer of 1841, when the story would take an irreversible turn. On Sunday, July 25th, Mary told her fiancé, Daniel Payne, that she was visiting relatives. She never arrived. Witnesses later claimed to have seen a woman matching her appearance boarding a Hoboken ferry. Others swore they heard screams in the woods beyond the riverbank. For 3 days, Payne searched desperately. Posters went up. Newspapers printed her description. New Yorkers gossiped in taverns and streetcars, speculating on kidnappers, jealous rivals, or something more sinister. Then, on July 28th, a group of boatmen spotted a body floating near the Hoboken shore. It was Mary, bruised, battered, and wearing clothing that suggested a violent struggle. New York erupted in shock. Medical examiners in 1841 had nowhere near the tools modern investigators possess. Yet even they could see that Mary had been assaulted, possibly strangled, and dumped in the river. The coroner noted marks on her body, torn fabric, and signs of a desperate fight. But accuracy was not the strength of the era. Crowds interfered with the scene. Reporters printed wild theories. Politicians used the tragedy to criticize law enforcement. The city practically tore itself apart trying to assign blame. Suspicion first landed on Daniel Payne, who seemed distraught but also secretive. Then rumors pointed to a gang of criminals who roamed the Hoboken woods. Others whispered that Mary had been involved in an illegal abortion, an extremely dangerous practice at the time. The truth became buried under headlines. Haunted by guilt and suspicion, Daniel Payne returned to the location where Mary's body was found. There, in the twilight haze, he drank himself into oblivion. Days later, he was discovered dead, poisoned by laudanum, a bottle beside him containing a chilling note. To the world, here I am on the very spot. God forgive me for my misfortune. But the story didn't end there. Months later, Mary's mother revealed that a woman who boarded at her home had recently died from complications of a failed abortion. and hints suggested Mary may have been involved. Nothing was ever proven. The truth dissolved into rumor as quickly as it had emerged. Mary Rogers' death remains unsolved. Was she murdered? Did she suffer a medical tragedy covered up by those involved? Or was she the victim of a violent encounter in the Hoboken woods? What we do know is this: Mary stepped into a world fascinated by her presence. And when she disappeared, that same world consumed her life, her story, and her memory. In the dark corners of history, the Cigar Girl still lingers, silent, unsolved, and unforgettable.